So the first question is, where do I think the UK is actually going on the whole tax agenda, and what do I think PARC members should be doing to prepare? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to say that tax will only get more complex. The UK is one of the world's largest economies. It's a great trading nation, and companies based here trading goods and services locally, internationally, face-to-face, through e-commerce. And where you actually are as a company and where your sales are increasingly in different jurisdictions. But our tax code is not based like that. Our tax code is one of the past. So that's not going to make life simple. And also then chances like their annual budgets and their pet schemes. Parliamentary process always means stuff is shoved in. We've got lawyers and accountants who help us to find ways round. We've got businesses and individuals who say, please, I don't want to pay as much tax. And taxation, of course, is not just used for raising money, but it's also used for trying to influence behaviour. Put it together, and the answer is it's only going to get more complicated. But, and here's my big but, my iPhone on which I'm recording this is complicated. But for me, all I've got to do is manage to press a few buttons and do a couple of swipes, and then I can work it. And the trick I think that HMRC still has not properly grasped is leave your tax where it is if you must. There are some things you can do, and I'll come to that later. But make the apps, the digitalisation, the bit that you and me and the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, make it simple for us. Up comes the only piece of the form we've got to fill in, pre-populated. And then whatever happens next, at least for us, the customer, if you like, of the tax system, it's made a lot easier for us to use. So the second question is, when I was the chair of the Office of Tax Simplification, an oxymoron if you like, what areas did I want us to focus on? And were the recommendations that we were made agreed or not by the Chancellor? Well, actually, the first thing that I had to do was put the Office of Tax Simplification on a statutory footing. And the second, create a strategy. And the strategy, I said, is, look, we'll do some comprehensive reports, things that the Chancellor wants us to look at. We'll do a whole chunk of things which we want to look at. And thirdly, we'll have a look at the future, because if you can get things underway before they happen, then it's usually a good idea. The gig economy paper was just one of those, because gig working does a big impact on tax, particularly lower tax receipts and national insurance contributions, but equally so, we all want the services. So we put up a paper as to what the Chancellor should think about there. The second was a business life cycle report, particularly pertinent for small businesses, as there's something like 9 schemes available. But one of the problems with the 9 schemes is, first of all, you don't know that you've got 9 to choose from at the start. And secondly, what you choose at the start may preclude you from using some others later on. So for heaven's sake, make it simpler, we said. Make it seamless and usable for business. And the third was some recommendations on Britain's most hated tax, which is inheritance tax. I mean, from a principle basis, people say, well, look, I'm paying tax twice, and that's why I don't think you should have an inheritance tax, or death duties, as my dad used to call it. And the second is, although less than 5% of estates pay inheritance tax, over half actually have to fill in the forms. We asked for evidence, people to get in touch with the OTS and tell us what they thought, and we got more responses to that than the government received for its industrial strategy. And we made a whole series of recommendations which effectively said, if you're not going to cancel it, government, at least there's a whole series of things here which if you do, it'll make it better for people. They won't hate it so much. It won't be difficult forms to fill in at a horrid time. So what's happened? Well, quite a lot actually, because most of them have in fact been accepted. But a combination of general elections, of Brexit, and now of COVID-19, or whatever we call this ghastly virus, means that there are other priorities. I don't think that matters as long as they all come back onto the agenda when life gets a bit more peaceful. I'm hopeful. I think you should be hopeful too. Let's all try together.